Absolutely. And for those watching or listening to this, we are going to talk a little bit about kind of being a Rams content creator or being a football YouTuber a little bit. Then we will talk about the Rams a little bit later on. But Jake, I'm going to start with this. So, like you, I've had many people over the past year say like, "Oh, I would love to do what you do," or like, "Oh, that's so cool that you can like have a YouTube channel that's monetized," which people don't actually realize getting monetized really doesn't bring in that much money at first, like off ad revenue. But and they go on and they tell me like, "Oh man, I wish I could do that." It's like the first thing I say to them is like, "You can do that. You literally can. You do like because the world we live in." You do not, like you said, you do not have to be an expert. You can do this. You can put in the time to learn how to hit record on a camera, figure out some sort of audio of some kind, and even if it's not like great quality at first, have a starting point and continue to build it, right? And I look at kind of other teams in the NFL, and you look at there's tons of Jets content creators. There's tons of the amount of 49ers content creators, the amount of Packers or the Chiefs or like all of these teams have just a lot of, consistent content creators that all have, a sizable following, not necessarily, millions of subscribers, but like a decent following. And then you look at the Rams, and there are Rams content creators like myself and like you that are out there. So sometimes it's not always the most consistent, but like that's okay, because that's something I found consistency is something you have to learn when you're doing this. And
big time.
I think my encouragement is just if you're out there thinking of starting a YouTube channel about the Rams, do it, because I think this team has a lot of potential on the platform. The Rams official YouTube channel just crossed 100,000 subscribers, I think like 2 weeks ago. And yeah, I would just love to know, like, what are your thoughts on, doing Rams content on YouTube as a whole? I know you've at times shifted from doing like, Rams content, but like Jets content and some, you have your draft content, which is fantastic, and other aspects of it. But what's your thoughts on Rams content as a whole on the platform?
Yeah, I mean, right now I feel like if you were ever looking for a time to get into Rams content, it would be now, because when you look at the Steelers and you look at the Patriots and what have you, like the peak of that when YouTube was starting to like take off for sports content creators and actually starting to focus on even more long form content, podcasts, like interested in that, right? That was around the time that those teams were good. They already had fan bases and they weren't split apart due to a move. And I think what we oftentimes forget is, yeah, the Rams moved from St. Louis, but think about what that left the Rams in terms of fan base.
Mm-hmm.
You now have a new fan base in LA. You have your fans like you and I, you in Canada, me in New York, but I mean, that's a lot of people to just up and leave in St. Louis. And not every one of them stuck by the Rams after that. There were people that were rooting for the Patriots in that Super Bowl in 2018 to 2019 season. So, I think it's a matter of repairing that by, you fix it, right? You find more people. And so exactly what you mentioned, hitting 100,000 not only guarantees you a nice little plaque from YouTube, but it also guarantees you the fact that you may not reach all those 100,000 people. And what I mean by reach is you may not get them all on your team. You may not get them all to subscribe, but the 100,000 is the threshold now, and then as they continue to grow, that threshold continues to grow. And that is the ceiling essentially for what you can do, because anybody that's looking for Rams content on YouTube has probably already subscribed to the Rams. That's just the way it is. But at the same time, if you are interested in doing more Ram centric, kind of like me, but also want to, test the waters on just the NFL in general, or, even look at another team that's in the AFC, like I'm doing with the Jets, I mean, then, I think YouTube does give you that opportunity. It's a little bit more difficult, and you can see it all over my channel. I've really tried to push for it. And, I think when you are established in a fan base, and you have just that resume that's online, people Google you and you're attached to one team, it makes it harder for the other fan bases to be involved in what you have to say. And so, I would just say that if you're trying to get into, a particular fan base, whether it be the Rams or what have you, now's the time to do it. It's never been easier to make content. It's not just long form. It's not just, the regular videos like, 10, 20 minutes or whatever. It's also the short form. And it's actually really easy for people to get into it now. You don't have to have the best camera in the world. Although I do recommend having a good camera because it stands out when people are looking at small creators and all of a sudden you pop up with, a nice little, you know, Ace 6400 or whatever Sony like I have, like it's going to clearly pop and people are going to see that. Same thing with the microphone, you don't want to sound like you're talking out of a tin can, because, if you get somebody to click on your video, maybe you don't have the best video quality, but people are listening and like, okay, this is really good. They're probably listening because your microphone's pretty good, and it's a lot easier to keep that going. And there are also so many people that use YouTube now on TV as like a TV show, right? And I didn't realize that, but like my live streams, people literally put on their big screen TV. They'll send me like DMs on Instagram and be like, oh, I'm watching you on TV right now. And it's kind of surreal, right? But that's just the way the times are. That's how things have changed. And so you just have to prepare for that, because think about this: when somebody blows up your video onto their giant 70-inch television, do you want it to be in 4K? Do you want it to be in 1080? Or do you want it to be in 480, coming from a webcam that's going to look more blocky, and then it's going to be even more blocky when it's, stretched out. So
Yeah.
there are just some things to consider. But I think when you have just these phones, these are incredible devices. This camera's insane. I don't even use this for any of my content creation. I record everything with my camera. But if you're one of those people that's trying to get into the space, take a little bit out of other people's playbooks. I mean, just look at like Scooter Magruder, right? Like more of a comedy focus, right?
Mhm.
If you don't feel like you can provide something, but you still want to provide it, find ways to do it, right? I mean, like for me, football analysis has always been my thing. I know the personnel really well. I know guys, position wise. I know who's good, who's bad, who's, all that. But I've never been a comedy NFL guy. I've tried that. I've dipped my toe into it, but I'm not a Tom Grossi, so to speak.
Yeah.
But if you are and you want to stay connected to the NFL, there you go. And so that's my thing, is that I think there are multiple avenues that you can go where, hey, I want to get involved in this, but I don't know if I'm cut out for this. Not always true. You can find different layers, and sometimes you can find yourself into a certain niche, and then that niche blows up. Just look at guys like Bangle on YouTube that started out. They're just like a Madden channel, right? It's
Yeah.
just a gamer, and he planted the seed so early on with YouTube that he has grown to the point where he can do whatever he wants, and he's going to get a ton of views on it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that like some people think like when you start a YouTube channel, you have to go in with the mindset of like, oh, like I have to be, 100,000 subscribers or nothing, right? Like
Yeah.
there is a like growth and process that can, and some people you do see like an escalated exponential growth relatively quickly, which I know you've experienced at times, and other times like, I'll be honest, some weeks, for me, it's just like, okay, like 5 new subscribers this week. That's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
cool. and you just take what it is. And, I think that there's kind of this misconception that when you go into YouTube, your goal has to be, oh, I want to make this my full-time job. That can be a goal. Absolutely. And, I am so amazed because like, I think before you were doing content full time, weren't you like working at like a retail store or something like that?
So I so I worked at a call center, like window shades and
Yeah,
whatnot. And
I've been there. Yeah.
I feel like without completely I don't want to say anything too bad about it. I really liked the people I worked with, but I just knew it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And the real thing that really kind of got me to quit was one day in particular. I quit way later on, but this is the moment when I was like, I need to quit.
I love these stories.
Is when I go on lunch break and I'm interviewing Kurt Warner with Alexis on my channel, for Downtown Rams. And then I get off lunch break and this guy's just cursing me out and saying how I'm a loser and all that. And he's been in the business for 35 years. And I'm like, basically just sitting there like, if I Googled you, would you come up? Probably not. But if you Google me, I come up like all over the place. And that's not me like tooting my own horn. That's just like the facts. And so, I realized at that moment, I was like, I can't go on lunch breaks, interview Kurt Warner on the phone and get on the phone and be yelled at 30 minutes later about window shades. It's just not, I'm meant for more than this. And so, I eventually, with the help of my late grandfather, I was pushed to do it. I really don't believe in quitting. I believe in, giving 2 weeks and, being there for them. But I couldn't do it any longer. I literally told my boss, as much as I loved my boss, I told her I could not work another minute here. And, from that point on, I've really just put my best foot forward and just, going all out on this content. And what it's allowed me to do is, funny enough, I didn't have, I quit that job. I didn't get another full-time job or anything like that since. So that means that whole year where the Rams were going to the Super Bowl and everything, I was able to be on top of everything. Like when Odell dropped, like I know you probably saw it too, Peo.
Yeah.
When the Odell news dropped, I had a live stream out the second that dropped.
Yeah.
When Von Miller got traded, I had a live stream out 5 seconds after the Von Miller trade got announced. Like, and that's something that, if you're going for that, if you're going for the full time, if this is part of your career or you're doing it to potentially branch off into another career, which is certainly possible, then I think it's worth it, but it's an insane risk, and I mean, it doesn't always, it's not always a guarantee, money wise, like you've mentioned. YouTube doesn't pay you as much as some people would think.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, you've received donations from people as well, from our great viewers, and that really goes a long way. But you can't just bank on it. So, that's the big thing there. And then, getting those communications and those, building those relationships with sponsors and what have you, is what kind of keeps you doing this. And so, right now I'm just kind of all over the map. I have my YouTube channel, which I do the Believe in Rams podcast, with Cam Lynch, former Rams linebacker. I do Downtown Rams with Alexis. I'm doing NFL draft content, more on the short side of things, because I think it's easier to kind of digest for just the any day viewer.
Yep.
But I'm also doing Rams content. I dipped my toe a little bit into the NBA, doing Jets content. Alexis and I are dropping an NFL show called A Football Show.
Yeah, I saw that. That'll be cool.
So we're really looking forward to that. We'll see where that takes us. And then I have some other things working on in the background that, I'll have more of an idea later on. But, just constantly as a content creator, I'm just constantly trying to put stuff out there and really my goal is to just keep doing this full time. And if times get tough, and they're going to, because that's just the way it is, during the off season, you could say the draft season's the busiest of the year, but that's not the time you bring in the most money, so to speak. So, when times do get tough, I look at getting another, gig, but staying in this industry, because I just never want to work at a place that's going to make me feel that crappy ever again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm so thankful, Jake, that you're not working at that call center anymore, that you're doing what you're doing. And again, I just want to encourage anyone out there that's listening or watching this. If going full time is a goal of you, definitely, that look into what it takes to do that. And I'm very much of the mindset where like my channel is drastically different than what Jake's channel is, and I have no intentions of going full time on YouTube. I do have a job that like I enjoy, and it allows me to produce a what I say sustainable amount of content. But like I view my channel as very much a monetized hobby, is what I tell people. And so if you're out there watching that, and that's kind of something that you could see doing, there's nothing wrong with that either. And
No.
learning, like using your phone to record some of your thoughts on the Rams, or football on your way to work, or doing something like that. And like there is market for it. You might not get the same growth and different opportunities like what you're getting, Jake, but there's definitely opportunities for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really as simple as this. You're going to get whatever you put in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it is. And so, especially if you create like a nice community like yourself, like, you're a friendly guy and you're easy to talk to, and you're just you're cool to talk with. And
Thank
so
you.
you're going to get more people that reflect that. And so that's the beauty of it. You kind of create your own fan base, if you will. And so, what I find is that if you're creating something, you're putting something out there that doesn't already exist. That to me is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's full time, part time, you're doing a one-off video, that goes a long way.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this short little clip, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe. You can also watch the entire interview right here. And as always, go Rams, horns up, peace out.